Remove that OBS-seen vehicle from your property within 24 hours, Doctor Hayes, or I will personally have it towed and impounded, and don't you dare threaten me with lawyers or bylaws or any of that legal garbage. I am the authority in Magnolia Springs. I've been president for 7 years, and I know exactly what's allowed in my neighborhood. That Ferrari is a blight on our community values, and if you won't move it voluntarily, I'll move it for you. Consider this your only warning. Patricia Whitmore stood on my doorstep at 7:15 on a Tuesday morning, her hot pink blazer catching the Arizona sunrise like a warning beacon, designer sunglasses perched on her head, manicured finger jabbing toward my closed garage. Behind her, 2 men in matching black polos with Magnolia Springs security patches stood silent witnesses or enforcers. I couldn't tell. 7 months out of my pediatric surgery residency, I'd bought this house in Scottsdale, Arizona, specifically because the HOA handbook was thin 62 pages, not 200, and mentioned nothing about vehicle restrictions. I'd checked 3 times before signing, because the Ferrari 488 Spyder sitting in my garage represented 5 years of 80-hour weeks, missed holidays, and finally, having enough money to buy something that made me smile instead of just survive. Now this woman in her power pink armor was standing on my property at dawn, threatening to take it. I set down my coffee, pulled out my phone, and started recording. Miss Whitmore, you have 30 seconds to leave my property before I call the police for harassment and trespassing. Her smile was all teeth, no warmth. Call them. They'll tell you the same thing I am. HOA regulations supersede your personal preferences. That car goes today. She was wrong. Completely, legally, demonstrably wrong. And I was about to teach her what happens when someone with a clipboard mistakes confidence for authority. I'm Dr. Elena Hayes, 32 years old, pediatric surgeon at Phoenix Children's Hospital, and someone who'd spent the last decade learning that precision, documentation, and patience beat emotion every single time. In surgery, you don't guess, you measure, you verify, you document every step, because lives depend on accuracy. Turns out those same skills work pretty well when an HOA president decides your sports car is her personal problem to solve. The Ferrari 488 Spyder Red convertible, the V8 engine that sounds like controlled thunder, had been my graduation gift to myself. After residency ended, after my first 6-figure paycheck cleared, after years of living in a 600 square foot apartment eating ramen between 36-hour shifts, I'd bought it used from a collector in California, driven it back to Arizona with the top down the entire way, and parked it in my garage like a responsible adult. It left my garage maybe twice a month. Sunday morning drives through the desert when the roads were empty and the air was still cool. No revving in the driveway, no midnight joyrides, no showing off. I treated it exactly like what it was, an expensive reward for hard work that I enjoyed privately. The HOA had 0 grounds to complain because I gave them nothing to complain about. Patricia Whitmore found grounds anyway. That Tuesday morning, standing in my kitchen after she'd finally left, I pulled up the Magnolia Springs HOA bylaws on my laptop for the 4th time that month. Section 7. Property Maintenance Standards. Lawn height, fence materials, exterior paint colors, approved through architectural review. Section 12. Vehicle parking. Residents may park personal vehicles in garages or designated driveway spaces. Commercial vehicles, recreational vehicles exceeding 20 feet, or vehicles under repair requiring visible work materials must obtain board approval. My Ferrari was personal, under 15 feet long, required no visible work materials, fully garaged, 0 violations. I created a folder on my desktop, HOA, Documentation, Whitmore. Added the bylaws with relevant sections highlighted, created a timeline spreadsheet. Row 1, Tuesday the 5th of November 2024, 7:15 a.m. Patricia Whitmore, verbal threat to remove vehicle, recorded on phone video. Then I did something I'd learned in med school when dealing with difficult attending physicians. I researched my opponent. LinkedIn showed Patricia Whitmore, real estate professional in Scottsdale. Former title, Independent Luxury Home Consultant. Translation, she sold houses until she stopped selling houses. Arizona Real Estate License Lookup, license suspended 2022. Reason, misrepresentation of property values, failure to disclose material facts to buyers. She'd lost her real estate license and promptly gotten elected HOA president 8 months later. Pattern recognition. Someone who loses authority in one arena compensates by seizing it in another. My Ferrari wasn't the problem. My refusal to acknowledge her manufactured authority was the problem. I spent Tuesday documenting everything, pulled security camera footage showing Patricia driving past my house 6 times in the previous 2 weeks. My street was a cul-de-sac with only 8 houses. No reason to drive past unless you lived here. On 3 occasions, she'd stopped, gotten out, photographed my garage door, building a case before she'd even contacted me. Classic predatory behavior. Wednesday morning, certified letter, notice of violation, excessive vehicle, visual impact. Section 14.8 prohibits ostentatious displays compromising community aesthetic harmony. Remove vehicle within 72 hours or face $500 daily fines. Section 14.8 didn't exist. The bylaws ended at Section 13. She'd invented a rule and hoped I wouldn't check. I photographed the letter, highlighted the fabricated section reference, and composed a response. Ms. Whitmore, your cited Section 14.8 does not exist in recorded HOA bylaws. Please provide legal basis for this violation or withdraw the notice immediately. I've documented this correspondence and will forward to my attorney if harassment continues. Dr. Elena Hayes, sent at 2:47 p.m., copied the entire HOA board. Her reply came 11 minutes later. The board will address your insubordination at next meeting. Insubordination. Like I was her employee instead of a property owner. Thursday morning, I woke to 43 notifications. Someone had posted in the Magnolia Springs Community Facebook group screenshot of my Ferrari photographed through my garage door gap, zoomed to make it visible, with caption, "Some residents believe rules don't apply to them. HOA is handling this immediately." Comments divided predictably. Flashy cars don't belong in family neighborhoods. What rule is being violated exactly? That Ferrari is gorgeous. People are just jealous. I archived everything. Didn't comment. Engaging would mean playing her game. That afternoon, my neighbor knocked. Sarah Chen, nurse practitioner, early 42nds, lived 3 houses down. She looked uncomfortable. Elena, Patricia, asked me to talk to you. She's been to 6 houses this week trying to get people to sign a petition against your car. Did you sign? Hell no, but she's persistent. Wanted you to know she's building something. I invited Sarah in, showed her everything. The fabricated violation notice, the bylaws showing no vehicle restrictions, the timeline of Patricia's surveillance. Sarah read it carefully. You're completely right, legally, but that might not matter. She drove out the Martinez family 2 years ago over a fence that was perfectly legal, just wore them down until they sold. Why didn't anyone stop her? Because she knows how to make people's lives miserable, and most folks don't have the energy to fight. But you're different. You document things. That's going to matter. After Sarah left, I made a decision that would either end this quickly or force Patricia's hand. I was parking the Ferrari in my driveway, on my property. Completely legal, visible from the street. Perfect bait for someone who'd already demonstrated she believed authority came from volume rather than law. Friday morning, I parked it outside. Not in the street, in my driveway, angled so it was clearly on private property but visible to anyone driving past. Then I did something surgical training had taught me. I documented the scene, photographed the car from multiple angles, showed where my property line was, noted the timestamp, narrated aloud to my security camera that the vehicle was legally parked on private property, that I was documenting this preemptively, and that anyone who accessed or moved this vehicle without permission would be committing theft. Then I left for work. Phoenix Children's Hospital was 35 minutes away. I had 3 surgeries scheduled: appendectomy, hernia repair, congenital heart defect correction, 8 hours in the OR. I checked my phone between cases. Motion alert at 10:47 a.m. Pulled up the feed. Patricia Whitmore, walking up my driveway. In that hot pink blazer, like she was attending a board meeting instead of trespassing. She was carrying something. Clipboard. And my breath caught. She walked around the Ferrari, photographing it from every angle. Then knelt by the front wheel well, where I kept my spare key, magnetic box, emergency access. She found it, opened it, held up the key to her phone camera like she was documenting evidence. Then she got in my car. The Ferrari's engine started that distinctive V8 growl, unmistakable even through phone audio. She backed out of my driveway, slowly, carefully, and drove away. Grand Theft Auto, captured in 4K, time-stamped, GPS tagged. I saved 3 copies immediately. Texted my attorney, David Park. She just stole my Ferrari. Have video. What next? Between my second and third surgery, I called Scottsdale PD, non-emergency line. I need to report a stolen vehicle. I have security footage of the theft in progress, including the suspect's identity. The dispatcher asked me to come to the station after work, bring all documentation. I finished my last surgery at 6:15 p.m. 7-year-old with appendicitis, routine procedure, perfect outcome, scrubbed out, changed, drove to the police station. Officer Martinez took my report, watched the security footage 3 times. That's one of the clearest theft videos I've ever seen. You documented this how? Security cameras with cloud backup, motion detection, GPS timestamps embedded in metadata. He took notes. And you know the suspect? Patricia Whitmore, HOA president. She's been harassing me for weeks, trying to force me to remove the vehicle. I have documentation of the entire pattern. I showed him everything. The fake violation notice. The surveillance trips past my house. The fabricated bylaws section. The threatening correspondence. Officer Martinez called his supervisor. By 7:30 p.m., I was filing official report number 2024SC9438 for Grand Theft Auto. Where's the vehicle now? The supervisor asked. I don't know. She drove away with it 4 hours ago. I was in surgery. They put out a bolo. Located the Ferrari within 20 minutes, parked at a private storage facility Patricia had rented. Officers recovered it, arrested Patricia at her home at 9:15 p.m. Grand Theft Auto Class 3, felony. Criminal trespassing, unauthorized use of property. Bail set at $15,000. I drove to the storage facility to retrieve my car. Inspected it carefully, no damage, 8.3 miles on the odometer. Patricia had stolen my Ferrari, driven it to a storage unit, and parked it like she had every right. The delusion was almost impressive. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a glass of wine and thought about what had just happened. Patricia Whitmore had escalated from annoying to criminal in a single morning, and she'd done it while I had cameras running, witnesses, and a paper trail that made prosecution automatic. The absurdity was almost impressive. She'd been a real estate professional. She understood property rights, contracts, legal boundaries. Yet she'd walked onto my property, accessed a key she had no permission to use, and driven away in a $280,000 vehicle like it was her, right? The psychology was textbook. Patricia had built an identity around control. When her real estate license was suspended, that identity shattered. The HOA presidency was her compensation, a smaller arena where she could reassert the authority she'd lost. My Ferrari wasn't the problem. My refusal to acknowledge her manufactured authority was the problem. Every car in Magnolia Springs represented someone's success, but mine was different because I'd refused to be intimidated by someone with a clipboard and a hot pink blazer. I pulled up the security footage one more time, watched Patricia kneel by my wheel well, find the magnetic key box, hold it up to photograph like she was documenting evidence. The confidence in her movements was striking. She genuinely believed she had the right to do this. believed her title gave her powers that existed nowhere in legal code or bylaw. I wondered how many others she'd targeted, not car theft specifically, but the pattern harassment, manufactured violations, escalating pressure until people either complied or left. Sarah had mentioned the Martinez family. 2 years of fence violations until they sold at a loss and moved away. How many others? How many families had Patricia driven out by making their lives unbearable over things that were perfectly legal? My phone buzzed at 9:52 p.m. Text from unknown number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I have lawyers. I have connections. I will destroy you. Enjoy your victory while it lasts. I stared at the message. Even after arrest, even after bail, even after being caught on camera committing a felony, Patricia was still threatening me. The woman couldn't help herself. Control was her addiction, and she couldn't stop even when continuing guaranteed worse consequences. Screenshot. Timestamp. Forwarded to Officer Martinez and David Park with note, witness intimidation from suspect's phone. Sent 9:52 p.m., approximately 30 minutes after posting bail. David called back immediately. That's a parole violation waiting to happen. She's threatening a witness in an active criminal case. I'm forwarding this to the prosecutor. They'll add witness intimidation to the charges. How stupid can she be? She's not stupid. She's desperate. Her entire identity is built on being the authority figure. You refusing to comply and now having her arrested is an existential threat to who she thinks she is. She can't let it go. After we hung up, I made myself dinner. Something simple, pasta, salad, the kind of meal you make when your brain is too busy processing. I thought about the timeline. 7 months since I'd moved in. 6 weeks since Patricia's first visit. 3 weeks of escalating harassment. Now criminal charges. If I'd just moved the car to storage that first week, none of this would have happened. I'd be out $60. Month and Patricia would still be HOA president harassing someone else. But I'd be complicit, teaching her that intimidation worked. Sometimes the right thing is inconvenient, expensive, and stressful. But it's still right. Patricia couldn't help herself. Even after arrest, she was still trying to control things. But this time, every threat just tightened the legal noose. The preliminary hearing happened 5 days later. I sat in the gallery with David while the prosecutor woman named Catherine Ross, mid-40 seconds, reputation for thorough preparation, presented the case. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Maybe 40 seats, fluorescent lighting, that particular smell of old wood and anxiety that seems universal to legal proceedings. Patricia sat at the defense table with her attorney, Marcus Webb. Expensive suit, aggressive posture, the kind of lawyer who charged $600 hour and made you feel it. Judge Linda Morrison, presided woman in her 60 seconds, with silver hair pulled back severe, expression that suggested she'd heard every excuse and believed none of them. Prosecutor Ross started methodically. Your Honor, this is as straightforward a grand theft auto case as I've prosecuted in 15 years. We have clear video evidence showing the defendant accessing the complainant's vehicle without permission and driving it from private property to a storage facility she'd rented for this purpose. She played the softly security footage on the courtroom screen. The quality was perfect, 4K resolution showing every detail. Patricia approaching my car, kneeling by the wheel well, finding the key, getting in, starting the engine, backing out. The timestamp in the corner showed 10:47 a.m. The GPS coordinates embedded in the metadata confirmed my address. Judge Morrison watched without expression. Prosecutor Ross continued. Officer Martinez recovered the vehicle 4 hours later at Secure Store facility on Camelback Road. The defendant had rented Unit 247 3 days prior to the theft, paying cash for 6 months up front. This demonstrates premeditation. She entered evidence, the storage facility rental agreement with Patricia's signature, security footage from the facility showing Patricia driving my Ferrari into the unit, the odometer reading showing 8.3 additional miles. The defendant accessed the complainant's property without permission, used a key she had no authority to possess, and drove a vehicle valued at $280,000 to a location she'd prepared in advance. This meets every element of grand theft auto under Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 13 to 1814. End quote. Webb stood. He looked confident in that manufactured way lawyers have when they know their case is weak, but billing by the hour regardless. Your Honor, Miss Whitmore was acting in her official capacity as HOA president. She believed in good faith that she had authority under community bylaws to remove a vehicle that posed aesthetic concerns and potential safety hazards. Judge Morrison looked at him over her reading glasses. Counselor, I've reviewed the HOA bylaws submitted by the defense. Point me to the section authorizing HOA presidents to take residents' vehicles. Webb flipped through papers. Your Honor, Section 12 addresses board discretion on. Section 12 addresses parking violations on common property. Dr. Hayes' vehicle was on private property, her own property. Where's your authority for that? The spirit of community governance implies. The spirit? Judge Morrison's tone could have frozen water. Counselor, we don't prosecute or defend based on spirit. We use actual law. Does your client have statutory or contractual authority to take someone else's vehicle? Webb tried again. Your Honor, this was a misunderstanding about the scope of HOA authority. Miss Whitmore reasonably believed. Miss Whitmore is a former real estate professional licensed in Arizona for 12 years. She understands property law. This isn't ignorance. This is someone with professional training making a conscious choice to exceed her authority. The prosecutor added, Your Honor, I'd also like to note that Dr. Hayes sent multiple written requests asking Miss Whitmore to cite legal authority for her demands. The defendant received, read, and responded to those requests without ever providing statutory or contractual basis. She knew she had no authority and proceeded anyway. Judge Morrison looked at the evidence file. Miss Whitmore, please stand. Patricia stood. She dressed carefully, conservative navy suit instead of the hot pink blazer, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back, trying to project respectability. Miss Whitmore, I've watched the security footage. I've reviewed the timeline. You were on Dr. Hayes' property without permission. You accessed a key hidden on her property. You drove her vehicle to a storage facility you'd rented days earlier. Explain to me how any of that constitutes good faith HOA enforcement. Patricia's voice was tight. Your Honor, I was protecting community standards. The vehicle was legally parked on private property that you had no authority over. Next explanation. The HOA has responsibilities outlined in recorded bylaws. Not one section authorizes vehicle confiscation. Try again. Patricia's composure cracked. Your Honor, I've been president for 7 years. I know this community. That car was inappropriate. Inappropriate is not a legal standard. Grand theft is. Bail continues at $15,000. Defendant will surrender passport within 24 hours. No contact with Dr. Hayes directly or through third parties. No social media posts about this case. Trial set for 8 weeks. If you violate any bail condition, Miss Whitmore, you'll await trial from a cell. Are we clear? Yes, Your Honor. Prosecutor Ross, anything else? Your Honor, we're adding a second charge. Witness intimidation under ARS 13 to 2804. The defendant sent threatening text messages to Dr. Hayes approximately 30 minutes after posting bail last Friday. We have screenshots with timestamp and phone records confirming origin. Judge Morrison's expression darkened. Miss Whitmore, did you threaten Dr. Hayes after your arrest? Webb jumped in. Your Honor, my client denies sending. I asked your client. Miss Whitmore? Patricia hesitated. I may have sent a message expressing my disappointment with may have? You either sent it or you didn't. I was upset. I sent something I shouldn't have. But I didn't threaten. Prosecutor Ross held up her phone. Your Honor, the message reads, You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I have lawyers. I have connections. I will destroy you. How is that not a threat? Judge Morrison sighed like she'd aged 5 years and 5 seconds. Bail increased to $25,000 cash. Miss Whitmore, you will have 0 contact with Dr. Hayes. 0. No messages, no emails, no carrier pigeons. If I hear you violated this condition, you're in custody until trial. Mr. Webb, counsel your client on what 0 contact means because she seems unclear. Next case. I walked out of the courthouse into bright Phoenix sunshine, feeling like I'd witnessed something surreal. Patricia had been given every opportunity to show remorse, to acknowledge wrongdoing, to take responsibility. Instead, she doubled down on claims of authority she didn't have and tried to justify theft as community service. David walked beside me to the parking garage. That went better than expected. Judge Morrison doesn't tolerate nonsense, and Patricia served her nonsense on a silver platter. She really can't help herself. Narcissists rarely can. They'd rather be right than free. Patricia just chose right, and it's going to cost her everything. We reached my car, the Honda Civic I'd driven since residency. The Ferrari was home in the garage where it belonged, but I wasn't ready to drive it publicly yet. Not until this was fully resolved. What happens next? I asked. Discovery. Both sides exchange evidence. Patricia's attorney will try to find something, anything, to create doubt. But Elena, this case is clean. Video doesn't lie. Timestamps don't lie. Premeditated storage rental doesn't lie. They have nothing except Patricia's insistence that being HOA president gave her superpowers. How long until trial? 8 weeks. But I'd be shocked if we make it that far. Once Webb reviews the evidence and discovery, he's going to pressure Patricia to accept a plea deal. Going to trial with video this clear is legal malpractice. What kind of deal? Probably guilty to reduce charges, avoid prison time, probation, and restitution. Patricia serves no time but gets convicted felon status and pays your legal fees. That's the smart play. And if she doesn't take it, David smiled grimly. Then we go to trial. Jury watches her steal your car in 4K, and she goes to prison. Either way, you win. The only question is whether she's smart enough to minimize her losses. I drove home thinking about what winning meant. I'd get my legal fees covered, Patricia would face consequences, justice would technically be served. But I'd still spent 3 weeks being harassed, documented hundreds of hours of intimidation, had my car stolen, and would spend the next 2 months watching this play out in court. Winning didn't feel victorious. It felt exhausting. That night, I got my first good sleep in weeks. Knowing Patricia was facing actual consequences, not just angry letters I could write back to, but criminal charges that would follow her regardless of what she said, made everything lighter. The power dynamic had shifted. Patricia was no longer the authority figure with a clipboard. She was a defendant facing prison time. And I was no longer the target trying to defend myself. I was the complainant with overwhelming evidence. Sometimes, justice is slow. But when it finally moves, it's devastating. Because what happened next was the kind of nightmare you don't see coming until it's already destroyed everything. Breaking point. 4 weeks after Patricia's arrest, my world collapsed in a way I never anticipated. It started with a letter from Phoenix Children's Hospital HR delivered to my home on a Wednesday morning. Thick manila envelope, official hospital seal, the kind of mail that makes your stomach drop before you even open it. Subject: Administrative leave, pending investigation of professional conduct allegations. Someone had filed a complaint with the Arizona Medical Board claiming I'd been impaired during surgery. Anonymous tip alleging substance abuse, patient safety concerns, erratic behavior in the OR, complete fabrication. But the medical board takes every complaint seriously they have to. One legitimate complaint missed could mean a child harmed. I was suspended, effective immediately. Full pay for 30 days, then unpaid leave, pending investigation completion. No patient contact, no surgeries, no clinic hours. My entire career, 4 years of medical school, 5 years of surgical residency, 2 years of pediatric fellowship, $400,000 in student loans, Every sacrifice I'd made frozen by an anonymous lie. I called my department head, Dr. Sarah Patel, someone I'd worked with for 2 years, someone who knew my work was impeccable. Elena, I'm so sorry. I don't believe this for a second, but hospital policy is clear. Any medical board complaint triggers mandatory leave until resolution. How long does resolution take? Long pause. 6 months minimum. Sometimes longer if the investigation is thorough. 6 months. Without income after 30 days. Without the work that defined me. I sat at my kitchen table staring at the letter, hands shaking. Then the second hit came. Email from Marcus Webb, Patricia's attorney. Subject line, Whitmore v. Hayes, civil complaint filed. Patricia was suing ME. Civil lawsuit for malicious prosecution, defamation, emotional distress, and abuse of process. Alleged damages, $2 million. The complaint claimed I'd fabricated evidence through selective video editing, that I'd orchestrated a fraudulent arrest to retaliate against legitimate HOA enforcement, that I'd defamed Miss Bunn, Whitmore's character, through public accusations. Every allegation was insane. The video was unedited, time-stamped, authenticated. The arrest was based on clear evidence of theft. Patricia had confessed on camera. But civil court doesn't require proof beyond reasonable doubt. It requires preponderance of evidence, 51% likelihood, and civil litigation is expensive. I called David immediately. They filed what? I read him the complaint. He was silent for 10 seconds. Elena, this is a SLAPP suit, strategic lawsuit against public participation. She's using litigation as a weapon to bleed you financially and force you to drop criminal charges. Can she do that? Unfortunately, yes. Arizona has anti-SLAPP statutes, but we have to defend the suit before we can invoke them. That means legal fees up front. How much? Civil defense of this type? Minimum $50,000 retainer. Probably $80,000 total if it goes to trial. My savings account had $47,000. My medical school loans took $3,200 a month. Mortgage was $2,400 a month. Without hospital income, I had maybe 4 months before financial collapse. I don't have $80,000. I know. That's the point. She's betting you'll settle, drop criminal charges in exchange for her dropping the civil suit. Classic pressure tactic. I felt something cold in my chest. So she steals my car, gets arrested with video evidence, and now she's going to bankrupt me into letting her walk free? That's the strategy. Whether it works depends on how much you can sustain. Then the third hit. Emergency HOA board meeting notice. Agenda. Special assessment for legal defense of HOA president. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday night, 24 hours notice. Barely legal under bylaws. I showed up. 30 residents in the community center, most looking confused about why they'd been summoned on short notice. Patricia wasn't there. Bail conditions prohibited her from attending HOA functions. But her 3 allies on the board were... Board member Kyle Richardson stood at the podium. He was Patricia's neighbor, someone who'd benefited from her selective enforcement for years. We're here to discuss a special assessment. As you know, our HOA president faces legal challenges arising from her dedicated service to this community. The board has reviewed the situation and determined that Miss Whitmore was acting in official capacity when the incident occurred. Therefore, the HOA has financial responsibility to support her defense. Sarah Chen stood up in the back. She stole someone's car. How is that official HOA business? Richardson's face flushed. Miss. Whitmore was enforcing community standards under board authority. The legal system has misunderstood. There's video of her taking Dr. Hayes' car from private property. What's to misunderstand? Richardson plowed forward. The board is proposing a special assessment of $25,000, divided proportionally among all homeowners. For most residents, this amounts to approximately $530 per household, payable within 30 days. The room erupted. People shouting over each other. We're paying for her to fight a theft charge? This is insane. I'm not paying for her legal fees. Richardson banged his gavel. The assessment has been approved by board vote 3-2. This meeting is to inform residents of the decision, not to debate it. I stood up. You're forcing me to pay $530 toward the legal defense of someone who stole my car? Richardson wouldn't look at me. The assessment applies to all homeowners equally. David had warned me this might happen. The HOA could levy assessments for legal defense of board actions. It was buried in the bylaws, section most people never read. Fighting it meant another lawsuit, more legal fees I didn't have. I walked out of that meeting knowing I was trapped. Medical board investigation, 6 months minimum, no income after 30 days. Civil defense, $80,000 in legal fees. HOA assessment, $530 I'd be forced to pay toward Patricia's defense. Monthly expenses without income, $6,500. The math was brutal and simple, 4 months of savings. 6 months of investigation, $80,000 in legal fees I didn't have. I was going to lose. Not because I was wrong, because I couldn't afford to be right. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a calculator and spreadsheet, running numbers that all ended the same way. Bankruptcy or surrender. The Ferrari sat in the garage. I could sell it, liquidate my victory to fund my defense. Use $150,000 in car value to pay $80,000 in legal fees and survive 4 months of unpaid leave. But that felt like exactly what Patricia wanted, proof that she could force compliance through sheer financial pressure. Then, the media hit. Local news ran a story. Beloved HOA president falsely accused by wealthy doctor over parking dispute. The reporter had interviewed Patricia, or her attorney had fed them the narrative. They framed it as entitled surgeon bullying community servant over where to park a luxury car. Made me sound like I'd manufactured evidence to retaliate against good faith HOA enforcement. The hospital got calls, concerned citizens questioning whether someone who'd falsely accused a community leader should be trusted with children's lives. The medical board investigation intensified. My reputation built through 10 years of perfect surgical outcomes, 0 complications, parents who sent thank you cards was crumbling based on lies from someone facing felony charges. I sat in David's office on a Thursday afternoon, 4 weeks into this nightmare, looking at numbers that didn't work. If I fight all of this, the civil suit, the medical board defense, the HOA assessment, I'm looking at $100,000 minimum in legal fees. Plus, I can't work for 6 months minimum. My savings cover maybe 4 months of basic expenses without income. David closed the file folder, looked at me with something like pity. Elena, I'll be honest. Patricia has resources you don't. Her husband's family owns commercial properties across Phoenix. Real estate, development, money. They're funding her defense, and they can sustain this fight indefinitely. But I have video evidence of her stealing my car. In criminal court, yes, that case is solid. But criminal and civil are separate tracks. She just needs to create doubt, delay proceedings, bleed you financially until you can't afford to continue. Then she offers settlement, you drop criminal charges, she drops civil suit, everyone walks away. She gets away with theft. She avoids prison, you avoid bankruptcy. That's how these things often end when one side has unlimited funding and the other doesn't. I stared at him. So justice depends on who has more money? Justice depends on who can afford to pursue it. I hate saying that, but it's reality. I walked out of that meeting into 110-degree Phoenix heat and sat in my Honda Civic, not the Ferrari, the practical car I'd driven through residency, and felt something I'd never felt before: hopelessness. Patricia had stolen my car. I had proof. I'd followed every rule, documented everything, done everything right, and I was losing. Not because my evidence was weak, because her bank account was stronger. My phone rang. Sarah Chen. Elena, I heard about the hospital thing. That's complete bullshit. Everyone knows you're an incredible surgeon. Doesn't matter. Investigation takes 6 months minimum. I can't work. Can't afford the legal fees. Patricia's burying me in litigation I can't sustain. What are you going to do? I stared at the courthouse across the street, heat waves rising from pavement, Patricia's attorney's office visible in a tower nearby. I don't know. Maybe I settle. Drop charges, take the loss, move on with my life before this destroys everything I've built. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. That's not you. You're a surgeon. You don't give up when things get complicated. In surgery, precision wins. In this, money wins. And she has more of it. I can't accept that. Neither can you. After I hung up, I sat there for an hour in the parking garage, engine off, watching the heat shimmer, thinking about whether fighting was worth losing everything. Whether principles mattered when they cost 6 figures in your career, whether Patricia Whitmore was right that authority backed by money beat evidence backed by truth. My bank account, $47,000. Legal fees needed, $100,000 plus. Monthly expenses without income, $6,500. Medical board investigation timeline, 6 months minimum. The math was brutal. I was going to lose. Not because I was wrong, because I couldn't afford to be right. I drove home in silence, parked the Honda, walked inside to a house that suddenly felt like it was slipping away. The Ferrari sat in the garage, $280,000 in bright red metal that had started all of this. My reward for years of sacrifice, now the symbol of everything I was about to lose. Part of me wanted to sell it, eliminate the problem, use the money for legal defense, but that felt like surrender. Like teaching Patricia that she could force compliance through financial warfare. I made dinner, didn't eat it, sat at my kitchen table staring at spreadsheets that all ended in bankruptcy. Calculator showed 4 months until I ran out of money. Medical board investigation took 6 months minimum. Civil trial could take a year. The numbers didn't work. No matter how I arranged them, no matter what I cut, I couldn't afford to fight this. My phone buzzed at 9:47 p.m. Unknown number. Normally I'd ignore it, but something made me answer. Dr. Hayes? Please don't hang up. Who is this? James Whitmore, Patricia's husband. End of breaking point. Reversal begins. I almost did anyway. Why are you calling me? Because I need to tell you something. Patricia doesn't know I'm calling. She'd divorce me if she knew. But I can't. I can't watch this anymore. Watch what? His voice was tired. Defeated. Watch her destroy another person. You're the 4th family she's done this to. The 4th. The Martinez family before you, she manufactured violations until they sold at a loss. Before that, the Johnsons. She drove a retired veteran to bankruptcy over a fence dispute that she was completely wrong about. Why are you telling me this? Because I have evidence, recordings, emails. Patricia planned this entire thing, the complaint to your medical board, the civil lawsuit, the special assessment. She coordinated it with her attorney. I have voice memos of her strategizing how to financially exhaust you until you drop charges. My heart started pounding. That's conspiracy. Witness tampering, abuse of process. I know. I'm a corporate attorney. I know exactly what it is. And I can't be married to someone who does this anymore. I'm filing for divorce next week. But before I do, I wanted you to have everything. Why? Long pause. Because I'm tired of being complicit. Because she's turned into someone I don't recognize. And because you're a pediatric surgeon who saves children's lives, and she's trying to destroy you over a car that was legally parked on your property, that's not justice. That's cruelty. He sent me a Dropbox link. 47 files. Audio recordings of Patricia planning the medical board complaint with someone I later learned was her college roommate who worked in hospital administration. Emails showing she'd paid someone $5,000 to file the anonymous tip. Text messages coordinating the civil lawsuit with her attorney, including explicit discussion of using litigation costs as leverage to force settlement. Financial records showing she'd withdrawn $80,000 from their joint account to fund the legal war, as she called it. And a recorded phone call where Patricia told her attorney, I don't care if I win. I just need her broke and ruined so she'll back down. Every piece of evidence time-stamped, authenticated, admissible. I sat there staring at my laptop screen for 10 minutes. Then I called David. I have new evidence. Everything. Recordings of Patricia planning the medical board complaint, funding witnesses, tampering, abuse of civil process. Her husband is the source. David was silent for a beat. Send it now. I forwarded everything. He called back 30 minutes later. Elena, this changes the entire case. This is criminal conspiracy, witness tampering, abuse of process, possibly RICO given the financial coordination. The civil suit is finished. She just confessed to malicious prosecution in her own words. The medical board complaint becomes a crime, and the HOA special assessment is fraud. What do? We go on offense. Tomorrow morning, I'm filing motion to dismiss her civil suit with prejudice. Then I'm filing criminal complaints for every statute she violated. And I'm forwarding the medical board evidence to the state attorney general with request for investigation of fraudulent complaints. I felt something shift. Not hope exactly, but possibility. She's going to try to destroy this evidence, claim it's inadmissible. She can try, but her husband is willing to testify. He's credentialing documents. This isn't some random witness. This is her spouse who has personal knowledge and documentary evidence. And Elena, countersue her. Malicious prosecution, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, abuse of process. We're going for 7 figures now. She wanted to financially destroy you? Let's show her what actual legal consequences look like. For the first time in 4 weeks, I felt like I could breathe. The reversal happened fast once the evidence hit the system. Within 48 hours, Patricia's civil suit dismissed with prejudice, meaning she can't refile. Criminal investigation opened for conspiracy and witness tampering. Medical board dropped their investigation after reviewing evidence of fraudulent complaint. Hospital reinstated me with formal apology. HOA emergency meeting where special assessment was revoked. 5-0 Patricia's allies had turned on her once criminal investigation began. And James Whitmore filed for divorce with full documentation of Patricia's financial fraud using marital assets. The trial for the original grand theft auto charge happened 6 weeks later. Patricia's defense was in shambles. The prosecutor added new charges: conspiracy to obstruct justice, witness tampering, making false statements to government agencies. The jury deliberated 47 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing: 18 months prison, not suspended. 5 years probation after release. $125,000 in restitution, including my legal fees. Permanent ban from serving on any HOA board in Arizona. My counter lawsuit settled 3 months later. Patricia's soon-to-be ex-husband's family paid $350,000 to avoid further litigation. I donated $100,000 to legal aid organizations helping people fight HOA abuse. Used the rest to finally pay off my student loans. The Ferrari? Still in my garage. I drive it every Sunday morning through the desert, top-down, V8 singing. Patricia Whitmore lives somewhere in Nevada now, last I heard. Broke, divorced, criminal record. James sent me a thank you card 6 months after everything ended. Said standing up to her had given him permission to escape a marriage that had become toxic years ago. The HOA has new bylaws, now 8 pages, clear rules, due process protections, no more invented violations. And I'm back in the OR, saving kids' lives, proving that sometimes the best revenge is just living well while your enemies destroy themselves through their own inability to stop. But I still have every piece of evidence, every timestamp, every recording, not because I expect more attacks, because I learned that vigilance isn't paranoia when it's based on experience, and because somewhere out there, another Patricia is targeting another family, and maybe, just maybe, my documentation will help them fight back.